My life is pretty manic at the moment, and I am constantly amazed by all the opportunities, and every time I bring an album out, the way that people respond to it. And I do kind of have that moment where I look back and think, I'm just from Neath, how did this happen? It's absolutely gobsmacking for me. So I grew up watching films like, Doris Day and Calamity Jane and Marilyn Monroe and Judy Garland, and kind of aspired to be a singer through watching all those black and white films, but just didn't, at that point, have any direction when it came to classical music, because I was still very much unaware of it. And it was later on when I started having the singing lessons that suddenly this whole new world opened up to me. I pushed my parents. I wanted to have singing lessons, I wanted to have piano lessons. As I sort of trained and joined my local church choir and got a little bit of a success in winning competitions and things, it was at that point where I thought, well, maybe I could do this as a career. And I set myself the challenge of getting into the Royal Academy of Music. And I thought, if I get in there, with it being such a competitive place, then I know I've got a chance. I loved being at the Royal Academy of Music. It's such an amazing place, I was very frightened about coming up in the first place because I imagined it to be a school full of very posh, geeky kids of my age, and in actual fact, on the first day I turned up and they were all just like me, but from other, around the world. And it was so refreshing to say, okay, there are other people who have this voice and, are so passionate about it, but they also want to go out and do normal things like me. So I loved it there. I definitely wouldn't be here without all the training that I had from that. And I made a demo with a friend of mine while still a student. The demo gets passed to a friend of a friend, to somebody at Universal, and they hear my voice and they sign me up to a 6-album deal. I really thought I would finish at the Royal Academy of Music. I would maybe get myself into an opera chorus and really slowly work my way up to getting lead roles. I never in a million years thought that, I would have made my 7th album before I was 30, and, it's so far away from what I thought. There's no average day for me. I don't think in 6 years I've had one day the same as any other, because I can be doing so many different kinds of things. And just recently in the last week I've been doing radio shows, TV shows, interviews, photo shoots, record signings, and that's just this week, and then I might travel to another country and do the same thing all over again. So it's just pretty much impossible, but I think the variety of what happens on a day-to-day basis keeps it really exciting. There are so many times when I have to kind of have a reality check and think, is this really happening? I mean, it happened just recently. I was invited to go to Tuscany to sing at Andrea Bocelli's festival. And on one side of me, singing was Andrea, and on the other side of me was Placido Domingo. And my mum was in the audience, and literally we both kind of had that moment of, how did this happen? How did this happen? And it was just amazing. So constantly I'm surprised, but I think that is just one of the brilliant parts of this, is to be able to meet the people who've inspired you and to perform with them. If I had to choose between the live and the studio stuff, if I had to choose one, it would be the live stuff, because I just love that interaction with the audience. Obviously you see the power that music has and the effect that it has on people, but part of my concerts, a lot of it is chatting to the audience and trying to break down those barriers and having a bit of a laugh with them. So I really enjoy that, and obviously you don't get that when you're in the studio. But at the same time, being a perfectionist, when you are in the studio and you've got, like 3 months just to focus all your energy on something and create something, that's pretty special as well. So, I'm lucky that I get to enjoy both parts. When I get on the stage, something happens, and I'm in my little bubble, and that's when I feel at my most natural. But if you ask me to go and do something, show off in the street, I wouldn't like that. I love talking to the audience on stage. Often I'll ask them to send me in questions in the interval, which I'll then read out and answer, and we'll all have a laugh, and there'll be some some very peculiar questions in there that'll be, you know, quite amusing. I just think it's about getting to know everyone a bit better and they get to know me, and it makes that concert, you know, so individual. You know, you're never going to get that again. I've been really strong from the beginning that I wanted to be me and to be as natural as I could. But I found in the beginning, sort of in the last few years, people seem to project an image of what they think you are onto you. So maybe because you sing classical music, you know, you're saintly and you've never made a mistake in your life, which is actually a really hard thing to try and live up to, especially if you've not said it. But I think definitely now I feel really at ease and I feel like people know me, and I've been doing things lately, you know, sort of more in-depth interviews. I think if anyone is wanting to get into, you know, a particular field, like to be a singer or a musician or, you know, anything, I would imagine it would apply to the same to sports and things. I think try and immerse yourself in as much of it as you can. So if you want to be a singer, join your local church choir, school choir, county choir, have singing lessons if you can. Join your local amateur operatic society, you know, get involved in the local productions of things, enter competitions. It doesn't mean you're always going to win. You know, I lost a lot of competitions, that doesn't matter. It's all about the experience. And I think the more that you give yourself, the better musician you're going to become, and therefore when you are ready for the, you know, for the chance and when the opportunity comes your way, you'll be prepared. I've still got loads of ambitions, loads, and I think you have to set yourself new ones. You know, when you've ticked a few things off your list, you've got to always have something else that you're striving towards. You know, I want to do well in America. I'd love to win a Grammy, but I can't ever see that happening. But I said that about my Brit Awards, so that would just be insane. And as well, just, you know, personal goals as well at some point, not yet, but maybe in 5 years' time, I'd like to settle down a little bit and have my own family and everything, because that is important. My favourite concert, you know, my perfect concert in the future would be doing an opera, but doing it for, you know, a bigger audience, doing it in an arena setting or something and making it more accessible for everyone. I think that would be the perfect thing. Classical music was the pop music of its day, and it was written for the masses, and nobody should ever feel left out of that. Really important to take classical music, you know, to all kinds of people, and especially, you know, around the world, because I do think classical music's had a bit of a makeover in the last few years. And C Music TV is brilliant because I think it, you know, it shows the wide variety of all the music videos classically that are going on, and sort of opens it up to a wide range of audience. And I know you've got lots of young viewers as well, so that's just so encouraging. I wanted to make an album with David Foster. I'd grown up listening to things like the Bodyguard soundtrack and loving people like Celine Dion and Barbra Streisand, and I wanted to make an album that was definitely my most kind of accessible crossover, still it being classical and in the way people expect me to sing, but just pushing the boundaries of it a little bit. And with every album I've made, I've not wanted to go down a path where, you know, you can almost anticipate what the next album is going to be. The last album I made was really classical. It was called Sacred Arias, and the one before that was, you know, slightly more popular. So this is definitely the most commercial record that I've made, but it doesn't mean that that's something that I'm going to continue with. It's just something that I wanted to do right now. And it's just about, for me, pulling on different pieces of music and making people feel like they've had a classical experience, even if it's still covers of really well-known songs, you know, performing them in a classical way, having a beautiful orchestral accompaniment and fitting them in with other classical songs. I think they can really encourage people into listening to this kind of thing. Hi, I'm Katherine Jenkins and you're watching C Music TV.